Hello, and welcome to Maybe I Can, exploring possibilities one sprinkle at a time. If you've ever found yourself asking, is this all there is to life? Then you're in the right place. I'm Debbie, author, speaker, entrepreneur, and coach. And every Tuesday, I'm here to share a sprinkle of hope and inspiration. Together, we'll uncover the more joy, more fulfillment, more prosperity, more fun. We'll share stories of transformation, actionable tips, and that little nudge you need to take the next step. So let's embark on this journey of discovery and say, maybe I can, to a life filled with more. Ready to find out? Let's get started. The Maybe I Can show starts now. Welcome back to the show. I'm your host, Debbie Weiss, and thank you so much for tuning in today. I have a treat for you because I have a special guest who I was lucky enough to meet a couple of years ago. And she's actually just the person I need to speak to today because my heart's pounding a little bit because Yogi was in the hospital overnight and I just walked in from picking him up. He's okay. He's a little drugged, sleeping there under my desk, but happy to say that he's good. So let me introduce you to my guest today. She is a former D1 athlete who left a successful career in luxury real estate for entrepreneurship, investing, and personal development. As a renowned expert in human optimization and personal transformation, Corene Phelps is dedicated to helping individuals break free from limiting beliefs and create a life of abundance. With her qualifications as a nervous system success coach, breathwork therapist, master NLP practitioner, and clinical hypnotherapist, Corene brings a wealth of knowledge and experience to empower you on your journey toward optimal well-being and performance. Welcome to the show, Corene.
Oh my goodness, I am so excited to be here. Thank you so much for having me.
Absolutely, absolutely. And so let's start with the question that I ask all my guests. Can you please tell us about a time when you went from a defeated, I can't mindset to an empowered, well, maybe I can attitude?
Oh my goodness. So this is actually, I think it's a real big one, and it was a long time ago, and it was the start of this empowerment journey that I've been living for the last 25 years. When I was in college, my junior year in college, I found out that I was pregnant. And I absolutely thought, no way can I be a single 20-something mom. And I had to pause for a minute and kind of remember, I don't know if I feel like a lot of young people, we have these moments where we run through scenarios of, and even not just as young people, just in life, we run ourselves through scenarios of how we might behave or act or things that we would do if we were in certain situations. And I had not long before this actually had a moment where I had a friend who was in this situation. And I thought to myself, this is how I would handle it. And here I was in the situation, and I wanted to go back on what I thought I would do because it felt like I couldn't. And through a few adjustments in my environment, in relationships, and my mindset, 25 years later, I have a daughter who is an adult, and I can't believe it. I actually did it. And for a moment there, I really thought that it was impossible.
And she's an amazing adult, right?
Yes, absolutely.
You're allowed to brag a little bit.
Yes.
That is amazing. So let me ask you then, so you said it, your bio said you were a D1 athlete. What sport did you play in? Were you still actively participating in that sport when you found out you were pregnant?
Yes, I was soccer. I played at the University of Maryland, and that was the end of that era of my journey.
Wow. I can't even imagine. Unless you're in that position, you don't know. And it's so interesting that you say that you had a friend who went through the same thing. I mean, come on, isn't that a little strange?
Absolutely. Yeah, very. Yep. And I had already told myself how I'd handle things if I found myself there. And whoa, then all of a sudden, and it's really easy, I think, to go, well, never mind, that isn't what I would do. Let me just change my mind here. And what I realized in all of that, I was like, you know what? When you decide the kind of person that you want to be, the kind of like how you want to act, Like you don't get to change your mind conveniently when it's uncomfortable. And that I think is where the mindset for me was like, oh, I can't do this. And because I feel like I can't do this, then let's pretend that you didn't have that thought. Pretend that you hadn't already decided how this scenario would play out if you ever were in it.
And isn't it interesting how, isn't it so easy for all of us to just look at other people and their decisions and be like, oh, well, I would do this. If I were in that position, I would do that and this. And then you're there and it's
Hmm.
completely different, right? It's almost like being a parent. I remember when I was an aunt before I was a mom, and I loved my niece so much. And not that I still don't love her, because I do very much, but I remember thinking to myself, I can't imagine loving a child any more than I love her. And then I
Yeah.
had Sam. But no one could explain that feeling to you.
Yeah, until you're in the experience. And I think it's like that in everything in life, right? We look at something and we think that we get it, or we think that we know it, but you really can't know it until you're in it.
Absolutely. So you had that defining life moment at that point. You did, though, then graduate and didn't go right into personal development, right? So you went into actually began a career. Tell us a little bit about that. And then what then changed your mindset and made you flip to entrepreneurship?
Yeah, so I kind of let everyone in my life tell me what it was that I should be doing. I finished school, I studied nutrition. So I graduated and jumped right into real estate because everyone was like, oh, you need a job where you can make a lot of money and support your daughter, but also have this freedom. And real estate being, especially real estate, like if you're an agent, is very much like entrepreneurship. So I pretty much have always had some kind of job or done some sort of career that was in line with entrepreneurship. So that part wasn't foreign. But what was not in line with what I wanted was just that particular career. I didn't feel like I was making an impact. And what I started to realize is that every single day I was going to work or doing my job, and I hated it. I hated it. And it was showing up in my body. It was showing up in how I was engaging with my daughter, with like other people in relationships. And I pretty much was crying most days at work, at home. And I finally was like, this is like, what kind of role model am I going to be for my daughter if this is what I'm modeling to her, is that you have to feel this way to earn a living. And I just one day decided, I was in a Pilates class and I just said, you know what? This is so much more in line with what I wanted to do. And I started doing some math and I just did it. I just completely burned down my entire career. And I signed up for Pilates certification and just went all in and ended that career, like burned all the bridges.
How scary, though, must that have been? Because you needed to provide, right, for yourself and your daughter. And you're a successful real estate agent, and you don't just duplicate that income in a second.
No, fortunately, I had been pretty smart with the money that I had made, but I also just knew that I had to bet on myself. I couldn't go on in the capacity that I was going. And I would just not even be a healthy mom. I was probably going to get sick. I just knew it was not the right decision. And though I just went all in. And I feel like with anything that we're doing, if you have that feeling and then you decide and you let yourself go all in, it's inevitable that it will work out.
Mm, that is amazing and so fantastic that you realize that, which at a young age, because you were still young. To me, that's still young. And
Yeah.
as my kids are in their 20s, and I'm thinking to them myself, at least my younger one has in his head, well, this is what I have to do, and I have to make a lot of money. And you know what I mean? And I'm not telling him to do those things. And I'm trying to tell him, you know, lead with your passion. And it's hard. It's hard when you don't know kind of what your passion is. Luckily, you did discover it, along the way. And, we're all geared to just money is success, having the job, doing the things, buying the car, the whole thing. And, me being older, looking back, thinking, man, what a mistake.
Oh my goodness. Well, I think I actually, it's funny that you mentioned me still being young in that season, because I think I still had that delusion
That you were old?
no, the
Oh,
delusion of youth. Like when we're fearless when we're younger. And
yeah.
it's as time goes on, the magnitude of things, we start to understand them more. And so I think I was still in a place of where I just was like, of course it'll work out.
Well, I have a type A son who's like, just the opposite. So you're lucky. So then, all right, so you start with Pilates. I just read off in your bio like a million things that you're certified in. Was it just kind of a journey? One thing led to another. Were you searching for something? And, I know a lot of them have to do with dealing with our limiting beliefs. Were you, I don't want to say suffering, but dealing and trying to figure out how to deal with your own limiting beliefs?
Well, I think if you had asked me then when I was doing these things, it would have been like, no, I'm just doing this to advance my knowledge and career. And yes, I have a ton of certifications and different things. I feel like I always say that that was like my PhD or like my master's. I earned them in different modalities of personal development, of high performance, that sort of thing. And I also fully believe very often we teach what we need to learn. So, yes, I think I was searching, and many things evolved and changed for me as I went through all of these different trainings. But I was working with, in my Pilates business, I actually, when I came out of my training, I actually pretty much instantly opened a Pilates studio where I was teaching group reformer classes as well as personal training and then nutrition coaching. And so had this tendency to be working with people who were high achievers, high performers, but I very quickly learned that nothing that they were coming to me for had anything to do with the actual Pilates class or the actual nutrition coaching. It all had to do with removing these blocks that were standing in their way. And most of them were rooted in mindset and in the subconscious.
I was just on a call a couple hours ago where a woman came on and she said, she was doing something with money and she was reading something and she said, well, that kind of makes me think about my health and wellness and why can't I handle my health and wellness? And then she's like, that monkey mindset, the monkey mind is always there. And it was like that realization of it's not any of those particular things. It is all what's happening up here.
Absolutely. Our conditioning.
Yep. Oh my goodness. And we all have it. So just for those of my listeners who don't even know what we're talking about, tell everyone what is a limiting belief and how do we even become aware of them?
Hmm. So, a limiting belief is a belief that is essentially implanted into your identity, into your subconscious, that is holding you back from achieving the life that you desire. If it's to make more money, you might subconsciously hold a belief that making money is hard. So that belief is going to hold you back from getting to the place of making more money because you're going to sabotage yourself always because you have this fear of it being really hard and having to work all the time. And that really isn't in line with the life that you actually want to live. You want the more money, but you don't want it to accompany the hard, 70, 80 hour a week kind of work weeks. And so you'll sabotage yourself from making more money because every time you hold this association to that being how it has to happen.
And how do you become aware that that's what's holding you back?
Well, listening to podcasts like this, you
Mm.
start to open up your mind to think, oh, is that something that's going on with me? And once the little bit of light starts to come in, this awareness that there could be something like that hidden, you start to pay attention, you start to see. So it's reading, it's investing in support, whether it's coaches, reading books, taking courses. It's literally a journey of becoming aware. So mindfulness is a big piece of that, right? When we start to wake up out of that autopilot operation is when we start to discover and uncover these things. And then you just keep digging a little bit deeper to find where the root of it really came from.
Oh, yeah. And it's a journey in that dig, but, so satisfying, I have to say, especially when you have those little moments. I had one this morning where I was like, oh my gosh, look at that. I used to do that. And now it was actually about nutrition. I realized sometimes you don't pat yourself on the back, that I'm an ice creamaholic. And it was like if ice cream was in my house, I knew it. And I couldn't stop thinking about it, so I couldn't let it into my house. Like if I'm not eating it, because I could never not be that way. And something hit me this morning. I think I must have gone in the freezer and it didn't give me a mind's notice. And I'm like, you know what? How long has that ice cream been here? I don't even care anymore. But you know what? It took me literally 10 years to get there. So switching your mindset, even though it's not exactly the same as what we're talking about with the limiting beliefs, you can't get discouraged because it's not a quick process. It took a long time to embed themselves in there, right? Those beliefs. And so it takes a while to become aware. But once you do, they do start to smack you in the face. That's for sure.
They certainly do. Awareness is the first step for sure.
Yep. Yep. So today I wanted to focus specifically on breath work. And one of the reasons is because I've been exposed and heard of so many different types of breath work. And then I'm like, well, is that description breath work, and what makes breath work, and when do you use it? And just like all the general info give us on what that is.
Yeah. So breathwork is an umbrella term. If you've ever taken a yoga class, you've experienced a form of breathwork. If you've taken a Pilates class, even that's a somatic experience as well, where you're connecting breath to movement. But what you're really hearing a lot of buzz about in whether it's social media or even now in the news, because it's very much becoming mainstream, are a couple different kinds. There is holotropic breath work, there's the Wim Hof method, and then there is a conscious and connected breath. And that conscious connected breath is very similar to the physiological sigh, which is something that Andrew Huberman just talked about recently. You might have, if you follow him. It's the quickest way for you to transition out of a state of stress, to move out of a sympathetic state in your nervous system. And so there's all sorts of different kinds of breath work, some that are going to help slow you down and make you calm, and some are going to be very activating. So it really, I guess, when you're looking into the wide, wide world of breath work, it starts, which one is right for you? It starts with where you are in your body and what you're looking to achieve.
Got it. Okay. And so if I want to calm myself down, let's start there.
Okay. So if you want to calm yourself down, you want your exhales to be much longer than your inhales. You could go into a very long experience that's going to be like that, or you could just sitting in your chair, just like we are right now, close your eyes and take a nice deep breath in. And then on exhale, slowly, slower than you breathed in. So probably maybe on like an 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, exhale. And you would run through a cycle like that. And you'll start to notice that all of a sudden you feel a lot more calm. You'll feel a lot more in your body, a lot more connected.
And obviously, there are different. I remember with anxiety, the first time I had ever heard about it was something that a therapist had taught my son, and they called it's different names, but they called it box breathing. And, I think he was too young or wasn't open-minded or still isn't to incorporate that. But I have found personally that it does help. So I love the idea that there's those things, those tools that you can use right in the present moment when it's happening, when you're driving. Nobody knows that you're doing it, right? It's not like you have to turn off the lights and go into a, dark room and do it. It's right there and then. What about other types of breath work that maybe you and I could do a little demonstration on?
Yeah, so I think you've experienced it. I facilitate something called hypnobreath work, where we fuse hypnosis into the experience. We use the three-part breath, and there's a piece of visioning that happens inside of there, which is really what starts to rewire those limiting beliefs and start to change into the new beliefs that you are trying to step into. And while we don't have time for a full experience, which is something like 23 to 40 minutes where you'd be actually breathing like this, we can practice it right here together. So if you want to try that out, and if you're listening to this, make sure that you only are participating if you are not driving. If you are driving, this is like come back and listen to it later sort of thing. But if you're somewhere safe, go ahead and close your eyes for a moment. And if you're sitting, you can sit up tall. If you're laying down, just get nice and comfortable. And you're going to take a nice deep breath into your belly from your nose, and then into your heart, and then exhale out through your mouth. A deep breath into your belly, deep breath into your heart, and then exhale, let it go. Full breath into your belly, full breath into your heart, and exhale. As you breathe into your belly, imagine that breath expanding into all directions, to the sides, to the front, to the back, pulling up into your heart center, and then exhale, let it go. As you breathe into the belly, start to imagine sending that breath to your kidneys, then drawing it up to your heart space, and then let it fall out. Beautiful. You're going to keep breathing just like that. And as you do, I want you just to ask yourself, when you are feeling anxious, where do you feel it in your body? Let that answer start to come to the surface here. Deep breath in, exhale, let it go. Full breath in, release. Keep breathing just like that. And now I want you to imagine or check in with yourself here in that anxiety space where you feel it. Is there a color that you associate to it? Is there a texture? Deep breath in, exhale. And now I want you to imagine using your breath, wrapping it around that sensation, that color, that texture, and using your breath to move it out of your body. Dig down deep into your belly, wrap it around that sensation, that feeling, pull it up to your center. Oh, full breath in, exhale, let it go. Keep breathing just like that. And now I want you to imagine a feeling of peace spreading into every place in your body. Now that you have removed that feeling of anxiety, we made space for a feeling of peace. Deep breath in, exhale. Let that peace spread to each cell of your body. Hold that feeling. And then allow your breath to start to return to its natural pattern, in through your nose and out through your nose. And as you're ready, blink your eyes open and bring that feeling back with you.
Why don't you just finish the podcast, because I can't talk anymore.
So just a quick little channel changer.
Oh my goodness. I can't believe in that short a time I feel this way. Literally. I feel completely different. Not that I was uptight before, but I guess I was, right? Because as I said at the beginning, I did kind of come in with a bundle of anxiety because I just, ran in with the dog and that whole thing. And, shoulders is where I feel that stress kick in up there.
Yeah.
And I can almost feel it, my shoulders melting down. And the red color that I see, blowing it out of my mouth. And yeah, it's quite incredible. And like you said, I actually have tried the full 23-minute experience. And a couple of things. I'm surprised at, unless I'm doing it wrong, how it really does take concentration to continue that level of breath work over and over again. It almost feels like a workout, a different type of workout, right?
Oh, absolutely. And, this is why breath work actually tends to work better for people who have trouble meditating. It's like
Mhm.
a gateway drug, if you will, to meditating for people who have trouble because the breath gives you something to focus on and to latch onto. And it does require us to stay really, really present, which is also part of the process, part of the lesson we get to have in this experience. And it is just like a workout, right? We get to train our bodies, we get to train our brains, our mindset, our lungs for, because the capacity is also another space in terms of how we show up and our longevity too.
And I found that almost every time I do a complete session, depending upon where I am, where my headspace is going in, that I always come out feeling clearer about something, And what I did find, because I discovered it when I was writing my memoir, when I maybe felt like blocked a little bit, wasn't sure what I was going to write about. Am I going down the right path? Whatever. Um, that it just gave me the answer. And I found doing the breath work prior to writing was incredibly useful. And one more thing, one of the stories in my book was something that I was very ashamed about, and it was not in my original outline. And after a breathwork session, it was like the download that I got was something like, you've got to put it all out there.
Yeah, breath work is a direct connection to your intuition. It shuts off our prefrontal cortex. So it shuts off that chatter, that fear, that ego center of our mind that wants to hold us back from being vulnerable.
So, because the time goes so darn quickly on this half-hour show, I'm just a beginner. What would you tell the listeners? Where should they go? What should they do to get started?
Well, there's lots of different places to get started. There's a ton of different apps. There's a ton of different classes out there. I personally, if I'm allowed to share, I actually
Absolutely.
have
That's my next
a
question.
I have a membership which is filled with audio, like recorded audios that you can access. And then we also have once a month a live virtual session. So it's not just an app where you're left to your own devices. You get instruction, you get live connection, and there's a community piece that's a part of it. And I think that is a little bit of the missing link, is that when we come together in that place is so powerful when we're in community with others breathing like this. There's a specific energy that's there.
So true. And I have to say that I have done that with you. And it does feel different. It's just like meditating in a group. And at first, for me, it was very uncomfortable, but you can turn your cameras off. You don't have to have people watching you breathe. So don't get worried about that. Plus, you hear Corey's voice. It's so relaxing. It just like lulls you into that. It just puts you right there, So please share your website with everyone where they can find this.
Yeah, so it is at CorenePhelps.com. And actually, if for all your listeners, I don't know if you guys drop links or not, but
We
I
do.
would love to gift them a free week. So my membership is called Cultivate, and you guys can come inside, test it out for a week, and see if it's something that you feel like is for you before you make the big commitment.
Oh my goodness. Thank you so much. I so appreciate that. And everyone, give it a try. What do you have to lose? Nothing, only everything to gain. Thank you so much for taking the time to come chat with us today. I so appreciate it. And everyone else, get out there, start breathing with Corey, and I will see you next week.
Thank you so much.
Thanks for spending part of your day with me here on Maybe I Can, exploring possibilities one sprinkle at a time. It's been great having you, and I hope you're leaving with a spark to light up your journey to more. Remember, every big change starts with a single maybe. If you're ready to kickstart that change but not sure where to begin, I've got just the thing for you. Head over to download my free guide, The One Critical Step to Kickstart Change, and take that all-important first step. Let's make those maybes into reality one sprinkle at a time. Catch you next Tuesday at 4 p.m. Eastern, 1 p.m. Pacific with more stories, tips, and that extra push you might need. I'm Debbie saying goodbye for now. But always remember, maybe, just maybe, you can.
Views expressed on this program are those of the host, guests, and callers, and do not necessarily reflect the views of the station, its management, or advertisers. You're listening to Transformation Talk Radio.